Hello, the game has started. It's me to go first. I don't have a bingo. I've got a lot of O's, so I certainly want to play off two of them. And I've got the H for score. I think this rack is too good to change. If I played Oh-Ho, 12 points, not giving too much away. And the rack leave is balanced and the G and the N have some synergy. This is probably quite close between playing this and changing. I have the J, which is a good scoring tile. I've got the ing suffix. I've got jingo on my rack, and I have a number of short words on my rack. No great spots for my J. Nothing goes in front of YO. I've got jading. Nowhere great for that. Yule only takes an S after it. Now I could play gadgy in column 11. It's keeping INO, which isn't ideal. Two vowel heavy. And I think I do need to play in column 11 because any play in row I isn't going to get doubled. And nothing goes underneath UH, so it's not going to score very much. If I play Jade, I'm putting the J next to the double word square. Gadgy 28. Just pausing. I could play Gadjo across here. .26 and a better rack leave. I think I'll go with this. Well, that looks close to a bingo. Not too many floaters to consider, and the O and J aren't helpful. I'm not sure if Gadjo takes an S after it. Okay, a few more floaters to consider. Pretty much only the N worth considering, though, given my vowel-heavy rack. So remains dangerous for an X being played there. I can put my P there if I play underneath Gadjo. But I need to sort out the vowel consonant imbalance. And I'm wondering about playing down through the D. "16 minutes on my clock. Log takes an E and an O after it. I don't really want to wreck this rack because it's pretty good. Jern takes nothing after it. So I certainly want to play off an I. Now what about just playing off AI? Which I can do down here. Piner pretty good. But can I do better? Can I use my P for score? The P goes in front of UH, but nothing goes in front of log or yo. AI for 10 doesn't feel great. Nip for 20, keeping a vowel-heavy rack. I could play Kniper for 22. And Kniper takes an S, so that's quite dangerous. Gosh, I'm really struggling here. I could play Denery down column 12, but that's wrecking the rack. Let me see what this looks like. I think I will do this because I've got an I for going at the end of it. Well, that has not worked out. If I'd played off just AI, I would have kept a good rack lead, but this is going to take a while to sort out. And I've only got a 17-point lead. I can play Impy and Denarii, keeping YUH. That stays available. Now I am going to challenge this. I'm not sure about Gadjos. It is good. Okay. Now can I do better than Impy? I don't think so. £36 points. More heavy tiles. But the board's quite blocked. And I'm fairly close to my opponent. Now Log takes a Y at the end. I've got a Y. And I get one of my high scoring tiles on this other triple letter square. I don't think so. I can play Boy, B-U-O-Y. That will score quite well. That remains available. My opponent changes. It would be so good to get an H or an F on this triple letter square, but I don't see a way of doing that. Boy for 33. I'm just wondering if it's worth playing or keeping the U and playing off one of these other tiles. So play a body would score slightly more. Maybe I should do that. No, I think I will go with this. I don't like U's. Great, and I draw a lot of vowels, so the keep of 3 consonants hasn't been punished. It's me on turn. I think my opponent's just played the G for new. Now, I don't think unhoof is good, but it might be. But unhood is. This will certainly be inferior to unhoof, but I'm just not sure of unhoof. 42 points. Horrible pickup. But I note that my W can go underneath the O of Gadjos. Great, my opponent challenges, loses 5 points. I've now got a 60-point lead. I don't think I can do anything apart from just stick a solitary W down here. I don't have any IOW or AOW words. It would be nice to play off both W's. I could do that with war. The trouble with playing OW, it only scores in the high 20s and it's retaining 3 high-scoring tiles. "12 minutes on my clock." Tie takes an S in front, so that's quite a dangerous row for me, row D, 3 S's, 2 blanks still to come. Logie takes an O in front. Now, what about playing down column 12? I can play waif. That works out quite nicely. It kills the S hook, and it plays off some of my high-scoring tiles. Still pretty bad. I would have Katorba onto an A. Not a bingo. Now, shall I continue this ladder? I could play core, and that would be pretty good because only an H can go next to the C, and both H's have been played. And this is going to leave me the best rack leave, I think, and a good score. Still no blank or S. I do have the Z, which is good. But I can't get it to play both ways with this O. I'm looking at the O's in hood to see if I can get my Z either on the triple letter square or on the double letter square and the play be doubled. Well, I can't do that, but I've got gazebo in row M, which will sort the rack out nicely, and I'd quite like to turn over tiles with these blanks being unplayed to increase my chances of drawing one of them. I've got a 100-point lead. Now the whole of the top of the board is pretty closed off, so any action is likely to be around unhood, so gazebo could easily be blocked. But I think any play around unhood is likely to generate new opportunities. Still one F to come. Wow, takes an F. Well, that's nice. 77 points for my opponent. Just 20 points between us now. Nice bingo. One of the blanks has gone. Gazebo still available. But what about column 2? Do I have a 6-letter play beginning with Z? I don't think I do. I've got Bez above retained, keeping Gant. 49 points. Let me see what gazebo scores. $42 points. I think I will go with this. Well, the remaining blank unpicked, and a pretty horrible rack. V and the F don't go well together, and only one vowel. Let me check the remaining vowel situation. 11 out of 30, so maybe Bez would have been a better play, retaining the A. Anyway, I have to deal with my rack as it stands. And I'm going to struggle to turn over a lot of tiles with this rack. My E doesn't go in front of the G. What I do have is this play though, and this is quite nice because it doesn't burn my E, and it gets rid of my 2 worst tiles, and it scores well. And suddenly I do have a good rack. I have netters, testern, possibly tenters. But nowhere for them. There's just the floating R, which doesn't work with my rack. Nothing goes in front of YO or Yule. Nothing goes in front of B that I've got. However, I have a 70-point lead, so I don't need to be agonising over not having a bingo. "17 tiles left, 10 minutes on my clock. I have no scoring tiles. What I can do is take out the most useful floater, and I'm concerned about it because the blank is out that I don't want my opponent bingoing in column 1. So Rev kills that lane and makes it very hard for my opponent to score. Look at this almost perfect diagonal up here. My opponent is really going to struggle to score anything. As indeed I am, but that doesn't matter because I'm leading. So I still don't draw any vowels. I've got a scoring tile in the K. 9 minutes on my clock. Tack is good. That's only 7 points. Eek is good. But I don't have any way of using that. 9 minutes on my clock. Trez is good. So I could play Celt. £31 points. Well, I thought I had insists for a moment. I don't. The remaining tiles are pretty bingo-y. I have put out a floating E. So bingo in column 3 would make things quite close. My opponent changes, which is pretty handy, because it means I can kill this E spot. Now, do I have anything onto it? Do I have sitines? Yes, I do. Fantastic. This is one of the new words that's come in. Well, sitine was previously existent, but it didn't take an S, now it does. And I draw the blank. No vowels. But that doesn't matter, I'm 140 points ahead. My opponent challenges, loses 5 points. So this has worked out quite well. My opponent is unlikely to block both eyes in sitines, so I suspect I can use one of them. I'll need to see if my opponent can go out in one. 6 points. So my opponent's got Lardia. Does that play? I don't think it does. Does Lardia have an anagram? I don't think so. So, how to score with this rack? Can I get my X on this double letter square? Well, I can. I can play flicks. So 54 points, pretty good. Horrible rack leave. But my V can go after TA. And I suspect there's somewhere else for it. But is flicks the best? Have I overlooked any super hot X spots? It doesn't play underneath this O. Anything in column 5 isn't going to score very much. What about through this eye? Well, fixed is probably the best I can do, but that burns the blank as well, so I'm going with this. My opponent doesn't have a bingo through this F. I should have checked that, but they don't. Ah, column 6. There are actually 7 squares here, but sword not good. Sword does take an L, which my opponent's got, but I don't think Lardia has any anagrams. Okay, 16 points for my opponent. I've got 6 minutes on my clock. My opponent is going out next go. So, what's the best I can do here? Well, where are the vowels on the board? The I of Citine's been taken out, as has this A. I don't have anything. Well, my S can go after saw, so I could play sip. 15 points. This E's not good. I don't think there's any need for me to try and block my opponent from doing anything with AR. My opponent's got Rad or Arf, so certainly can go out. I think I will put this game out of its misery. Sip 15. If my opponent doesn't go out, I've got Tav. Just looking around to see if there's any other spot for my V. There may not be. No, can't see anywhere else. Yep, that's the end of the game. Pass to end it. And the final score, 304 to my opponent, 476 to me. A winning margin of 172 points, so a huge win. Let's see what I missed. Oh wow, sword doesn't take an S. Okay, well, that's something learnt. Now, it was me to go first. Yeah, I didn't like keeping O. I much prefer AGNO, despite the point sacrifice. My opponent plays Yule. And here, I play Gadjo, and even though it does take an S, I still prefer it. IN is quite a lot better than INO. And if I had played Gadji, I'd be placing a vowel next to a premium square. And so I think Gadjo is better. My opponent plays Jern. And this is a rack I really agonised over. I played Denari in the end, and well, all of these plays are fairly similar. I think the alternative to any of these would be playing off just 1 or 2 tiles, maybe just playing off the I, making IN, and keeping a good 5 or 6 letter Rackley, which isn't really covered in these options. My opponent's rack, nice play there. And Humpy, J6, making Logie, but keeping double I. Instead, I get 11 fewer points for Impy. Yeah. One advantage of Humpy is that I am retaining an eye for going underneath Denari. And it is scoring a lot more points, and it's getting rid of the U, so probably Humpy a better play. And my opponent didn't have an eye for taking advantage of the Denari hook. So my opponent changed. Now, well, what do I do here? I play boy, and the alternative was body, and I still think that's fine. My opponent plays new, and unhood is good, and unhoof clearly isn't, so I'm glad I didn't try that. Great rack for my opponent. They have retinted, didn't play it. Played tie instead. I have an awful rack. That's the U move I was considering, but the rack leaves pretty dreadful. So I played waif for 27, and I think that rack leave is much more manageable, as well as taking out the S hook. Nice rack for my opponent, no bingo though. And now this is quite a nice little ladder for me, because I'm able to play core, sort the rack out, and not give any opportunity to my opponent. And finally my opponent does bingo, and there's only 20 points in it. And this is where I played gazebo for 42, and I think, gosh, Bears scored 7 more points. I think in my mind gazebo scored slightly more, even though I checked the scores. But I think Bears is a better play. Gant is a better rack lead than NT. I partly wanted to turn over tiles to increase my chances of drawing the blank. But I think even taking that into account, Bears was a better play. My opponent plays res, and now favour I think is the best move. Horrible rack for my opponent. They play map. And now I've got a 50-point lead, and I elect to kill the board. And by kill the board, I just mean taking out this column 1 bingo lane, which I like. My opponent plays cob, and now I have Celt for 31, which is a good score. It does provide an option for my opponent to bingo with this floating E. But given my lead, I think a bingo there would not have been enough for my opponent. Anyway, my opponent doesn't bingo, they change, and I have Citines. My opponent plays saw, and now I play flicks for 54. And it's possible Spiv for 39 may have been better if there was a chance for me to go out next go. Now, does my opponent have a bingo? No. They play riled. And finally, this is where I phony with saws. And, well, you can see the suggested plays. And my opponent goes out. So quite a high-scoring game on quite a blocked board. At one point, there was almost a perfect ladder from the bottom to the top, which is great if you're ahead, as I was, because it makes it very hard for the opponent to open the board and come back into the game, because when the board is this tight with no openings, it's very hard to create 2 openings. So if one opening is made, it's very easy for me to block or obstruct it. So I was in quite a strong position about 2/3 of the way through the game. So I hope you enjoyed watching that, and I will see you next time.